Welcome to the podcast, Alistair and Artie. Do you want to explain to everybody who on earth you guys actually are?
We are Joe's childhood friends
Yeah.
who have been invited on because he needs a lot of podcasts up front. But we're happy to be here. And we also happen to be the two people he knows who probably know the most about today's topic.
I am Alistair. I am a long-term Star Wars fan. I've
Should we just explain that long-term Star Wars fan concept? What was it? Phrase?
It's all up to you. It's your podcast. You go wild.
But for context, dear viewers, the phrase "a long-term Star Wars fan" was coined by Alistair when he got his first girlfriend. He created a podcast, invited her on it, and proudly proclaimed to her, "I'm a long-term Star Wars fan," and it worked. It worked. Not forever, but it worked.
And given recent events, it's unsurprising Joe's chosen now to start a podcast of his own.
With that bombshell out of the way, we'll jump into today's topic, which is serious faces, because it's a very sad topic. But Star Wars, I would argue, is dead. But I want to know who killed it, what killed it, because Star Wars to me was something I loved as a child. It was never as big an obsession as Doctor Who or other franchises, but it was good sci-fi. It was something I loved, but my passion for that franchise has completely died.
So we've just left the film, and I'm incredibly unimpressed. I'm not happy. What was that? It was more than a little bit dodgy.
What about yourselves?
I mean, it's just like I'm in the same boat. It's just it feels like it's just petered out. And even when they do release great stuff like Andor or some of Acolyte, I thought was very good, it doesn't feel like a big event anymore. It like every time Star Wars came out, it used to be an event. And whether or not the argument is whether Star Wars is good, it does feel like the event and the excitement is dead.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the best way to start this, in my opinion, is if we go all the way to the start, not just of Star Wars, but like of our lives, because we all went to primary school together, so we've known each other for a very long time.
Long-term Star Wars fans.
We are just long-term Star Wars fans. What can I say? But I think my first bit of Star Wars was Clone Wars, and I've spoken on multiple other occasions, I think on this channel and others. Shout out Pluto's The Planet podcast, go and stuff to
that. For context as well, us three.
The history of podcasting and the amount of context needed to understand this episode.
Us three had a podcast in lockdown, as did everybody, because
we
were all locked inside. You could actually go and find it on
quite
YouTube
as well as us.
Yeah, it's terrible. My first memory of Star Wars, right, is my dad telling me to watch Empire Strikes Back and kind of spoiling it, because he was like, "Do you know the plot twist?" And I was like, "What plot twist?" And he goes, the Darth Vader plot twist. And I was like, "What Darth Vader plot twist?" And he was like,
"You ruined it for me now."
Yeah, sorry if that spoiled it for anyone. But I remember that distinctly. To be fair, it technically wasn't spoiled, but I knew something was coming.
So Empire was the first one you saw?
No, and then he was like, "If you haven't seen any of that, watch this." So I searched it into the TV because it was like a skybox, and it came up with Clone Wars because that was the only thing for free available to watch. I started to watch an episode, got incredibly bored, and sacked it off. So I then asked my grandma, shout out to Diane, and I asked for Easter, instead of an Easter egg, could I get Star Wars Episode 4? Because I was told to start there. And lo and behold, everyone else was going around the garden looking for Easter eggs, and I was looking for Star Wars Episode 4. And then I watched all of them in order of 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, because those were the only ones out at the time. And
how old were you?
I would have been in like year 2 or year 3. So what age is that?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, you start in nursery, year 4, so 8.
Yeah,
8, I think.
Probably like, yeah. I reckon I'd have been around 7. No, that feels too late. I'd have been around 7, 6 or 7, I think.
Still, that's like old enough where you can you can pin it down as a memory. Whereas
Yeah.
like my dad just chucked it in front of me, like from out the womb. It was playing in the delivery room, and I just followed the light of the TV. I am your, and, and as I peeked out, Darth Vader said, "I am your father," and it's caused a lifetime of psychological issues. But no, I can't. I can't remember the first time I saw Star Wars. It's just a constant of culture.
Didn't you used to call yourself Star Wars, as in you thought the character was called Star Wars?
No,
and
so
people on the playground would be playing games, and this man is, I am Star Wars.
well, I can't remember doing it on like in school, but me and my brother used to like play games, obviously, and we would pretend to be characters, and he would pick a character, like I'm Captain Jack or Luke Skywalker, and he always picked the main character, and I didn't know who else to be, so I would just say I'm the Pirate of the Caribbean, which wound him up no end. And then I just started saying I'll be Star Wars. I'll be Star Wars. That's my character. And then he's like, what character is that? It's like all of them. It's like it's the best one. It's the best character. It's the Star Wars.
Shout out to the Star Wars. But I think it does speak to the fact that we've all got this childhood connection with it, and now I think we're all quite apathetic. You could argue we've grown up, but we haven't, as evidenced by the Doctor Who scarf, the Doctor Who cardboard cutouts, and the Lego. So, Alistair, where did it go wrong for you? What ruined it?
Episode 8 or 9, especially 9. I can't remember the exact. I think 8 was a bit of like a shaky one, but like I had that much Star Wars just boosted through my veins at the time. I was just like, yeah, no, it's great, it's awesome. And then it was episode 9, and we all went together to go and watch that. And we watched 7, 8, and 9 that day, didn't we? Yeah. And I just think I was sat there, and after watching it, I was just like, At first, I
have a recording of your live reaction.
Best film.
Is that your favourite Star Wars film of all time?
Yeah.
It was crap.
We were like, that was amazing. That was. It's like taking drugs. Star Wars. It's like at first it's amazing, and then you just go down this horrible spiral of just going. It is sad, but you know, like. I think kids like of that generation loves it, but you know, we grew up with 1, 2, and 3, and like people like 30-ish, 40-ish, they don't like the ones that we like, even though I know that you two aren't.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Favorable of episodes 1 and 2, but I am. I love it.
It does make you wonder whether, like, in however many years, people are going to look back on the sequels and go, "Oh, they're not as bad as you think." And I don't personally think that's going to happen because I think they're dire. But the way that we view the prequels in comparison to like our parents, it's wild. Like so many people pretend that they were always brilliant now, and for a long time they were terrible. Return of the Jedi. Like that got heavily criticized up until Phantom Menace came out because you know the Ewoks, like the Ewoks were the dumbest thing until Jar Jar Binks, and Jar Jar Binks was the dumbest thing until Disney bought Star Wars. But yeah, no, it's what you were saying about like that initial excitement coming out of the cinemas. Those movies are kind of the last ones for me where that happened because. Especially with The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, I came out loving them. And The Last Jedi, it took me about a month and a half, like seeing it 6 more times to realize that it wasn't as good. And I was just excited.
Yeah, I remember after, because I watched The Last Jedi with you the day it came out, because it was like school was snowed off or something. And we were just like, let's just go into town. We watched it, and I remember coming out of the film, and I was so conflicted because I'd convinced myself I would love it. And I remember it's one of the first proper memories of going into something thinking I will love this, and coming out of it going, oh. And I remember being sat in McDonald's with you, and I was like, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
I was in on it. I was there with it. I loved it. And then the same again with Rise of Skywalker. Like Rise of Skywalker, it had got to a point by then that people had seen that it was kind of getting worse. So I can remember in my mind like like when the movie ended, I had this split second of like, is that it? And then my mind just went into automatic and was just like, that was amazing. And then I loved it for almost a full week before I realized it's one of my least favorite movies of all time.
Yeah, I remember like when we left the cinema, because I was a lot quicker in realization of just how bad it was. And I think one of the things was like we were either sat in a taxi or your car, Joe, like your dad's car or something, and you two were arguing it out, and I was just sat there. And one scene that just keeps on like that bugged me was the fact that all of the this is just my autism kicking off here. It's the fact that the only way for all those starships to get out of the weird reality they were in, like weird planet or wherever it was, it was just one singular tower.
It's just sad. It's because like I think The Force Awakens, at least for me, was kind of what reignited my love for Star Wars, because I loved it as a kid and I used to get all the toys for Christmas and it was like great. But then like, because I think we were in year 7 in secondary school when The Force Awakens came out, I'd kind of distanced myself from it a bit, and I hadn't. But then that trailer dropped, and then The Force Awakens comes out in cinemas, and it's like, oh my God, I remember why I loved Star Wars so much. And there was so much hype, there were so many theories. And The Last Jedi, although it is a good film in and of itself, it just doesn't. It's so disconnected from what The Force Awakens is, and then. The Rise of Skywalker is so disconnected to any of it that the entire trilogy is just a disjointed mess.
It's so strange. I remember when I heard that Disney bought Star Wars. Like I was young at the time, so I didn't like. I was just like, that's cool. But my dad was like, that's great because Star Wars is brilliant. But the problem with the prequels is that the producers weren't around. It was all George Lucas, start to finish. The producers didn't have any say. So he was like, this is perfect. If it goes to Disney, then they'll get someone in to plan it out, but the producers can make sure they don't take it too far. And it swung the complete opposite way, like where the prequels are just sort of the death of like no oversight. The oversight of the sequels is what killed them, because they were so reactionary. Because I mean, everyone said The Force Awakens was too cookie cutter, and then Last Jedi comes out and it's like doing the Game of Thrones thing of like trying to subvert expectations on purpose. And then no one, well, it was like 50-50, but the general thing was like overwhelming dislike. And then Rise of Skywalker just tried to like please everyone, and in doing so just please no one.
I think you could tell when Disney bought it. I just Googled on my phone because I can't remember whether I've created this memory, but I have such a distinct memory of, I'm pretty sure it was my birthday, but I just Googled it and it said it was October, so it can't have been. But
I was in Rome.
Finding out that Disney had bought Star Wars, and I remember, like, I can't remember, someone said to me, like, that's not going to go down well. They're going to rinse it, and they're gonna make loads of movies. And I remember that because I was very young. I think we were still in primary school because it was like 2012. And then they ultimately were right, because this kind of
Did Disney buy it whilst we were in primary school?
Yeah. It was like, I think we were in like year 4. It was the year of the Olympics.
If you think the first one came out in 2016, 2017. Oh, was it earlier? Was it? If it was 2015,
when we were in year 7, so 2015. Yeah.
Well, no, it was Christmas year 8, but because it was Christmas, and it definitely wasn't 2014. Anyway, this is my news. It doesn't matter.
It's irrelevant.
But anyway, like if you think it came out then, and then so like the buying of it must have been way earlier because everything has to be greenlit and all of that. And you were hearing all these stories about like about who might be in it. Everyone, when Harrison Ford, and like, oh my gosh, do you remember that first trailer?
Yeah.
That first teaser where it was just like where it was that shot when Harrison Ford is explaining the Force to Rey through the hologram, and then just like and the Millennium Millennium Falcon, and it was just like,
I
yes.
have a distinct memory of watching that on your phone for the first time just before school, which is why in my head it's year 7, because I think the trailer must have been year 7, but
Yes,
it was
yeah.
us two and then that group of little nerds that we'd hang out with in the morning, and you had it on your phone and you were like, I saw this last night, and we were like, whoa. And it was,
my whole family, like even my mum, who does not give a single toss about Star Wars, like we all gathered around the computer and my dad had loaded it up and we watched it, and it's like, there has been an awakening, have you felt it? It's there's the amount of hope and that sense of event and that sense of like everyone, like even if you're not a Star Wars fan, like Star Wars is a thing, like you are aware of it. That whole sense I feel has gone, and it's like, I think it's a mix of just like the oversaturation, the amount we've got, and also the general quality decline.
Yeah, well, I think that the last time, at least, not really for me, but I guess you guys, that sense of event and hype was felt, I'd argue, would be The Mandalorian. Because season 1 of that hit Disney Plus pre-COVID, or I think in the UK it was literally like the week before COVID or something. Yeah. And that was such a big thing. I remember it came out in America just before Rise of Skywalker, but we couldn't watch it. And I'm pretty sure, did one of you stream it illegally or something? Because
I did.
Yeah. No, okay.
Well, I remember when
Yeah.
the Baby Yoda thing happened, and like it was in America, so we couldn't see it. And I remember being stood on like on the train station platform in the cold with you, Joe, and we were just like, "What is going on? This is like the hype of the first real Star Wars TV show. It used to be a thing, like it used to be a moment for everyone, and like." It just isn't anymore, and it's just sort of gone, and it, like no one seems to have reacted. It's not like a death, like an assassination. It didn't die instantly. It just has started to fall asleep and will stop breathing. Like it's where's it gone?
Was that Mandalorian? You said the Mandalorian was that just for us or like the whole Star Wars community?
I'd say that was for everyone, because like Artie said,
for us, there's something a little bit later for me and Artie especially, and that would be the end of Clone Wars by far. I personally feel like that the ending of Clone Wars, we won't include the whole of Series 7, but the halfway, going all the way to the last episode,
the last 4 episodes.
Holy, that was some of the best Star Wars I've ever seen, and it was animated. It was animated, and I don't know if that said something good or bad about Star Wars as a whole. But
I think the Clone Wars one's interesting because like that wasn't a general public event thing, but within the fans, anyone who was in the know, it was massive. It was massive.
Well, that's the thing. I wouldn't have had a clue if it wasn't for you two, because I remember bullying you both, going, "This is a kids show, guys, shut up," because I don't have that connection with Clone Wars, and I didn't care. But you two, and there were like large portions of the internet as well, because it was it during COVID? I think it might have been.
Yes,
it came out.
It was.
I remember everyone on like nerd people, like if you'd asked. Like if any member of my family would have gone, "What's that?" But every nerd, like you say, was proper like, whoa. And I did get around to watching it eventually, and I'll give you that. The final 3 episodes, however many it is, they are quite good. I won't say they're great. I'll say they are
great.
But even now within the fans, the event's gone. Like sort of Mandalorian was the last public event of Star Wars, and now it's like the last public event, I'd argue, for the fans was the last season of Clone Wars. I feel like that was the last thing like people were waiting with bated breath for.
And what's wild is that we've had an Obi-Wan series in that time. Yes. But nobody cares. Like, it just wasn't that good, and it's just sad. Like,
but then we had an Andor series within that time, and that was very good.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it.
This is the thing. This is the thing with Star Wars. They were released like the Mandalorian season 1, which is really good. Then released Boba Fett. You guys would say not good, but for me, I
wasn't
no Star Wars for me is bad.
Mandalorian came out first, didn't it?
I'm pretty
You
sure it
what?
was season 1, then Boba Fett, then season 2. Or I might be
No,
wrong.
it was
I'm not
season
sure.
1. It was season 1 Mandalorian, season 2
Season 2
Mandalorian,
Mandalorian.
because then it
Yeah.
leaves you on the cliffhanger of Grogu's gone with Luke. Then Book of Boba Fett goes, actually, what? You thought character development had happened? Well, never mind. It doesn't make us money. Let's bring back Grogu.
I forgot that in the middle of the Book of Boba Fett, they just cut away for no reason.
It's basically an episode of The Mandalorian. It's terrible. But we're going to rank all the films / TV shows. So we'll get to my absolute hatred of the Book of Boba Fett later on. But what were we saying?
Anyway, no, we were just saying like how Star Wars can have like a very, very good year and a very, very bad year. Well, as I was trying to say, I don't believe any Star Wars is bad because I'm naive, but that's me. But like, I thought Acolyte was good, and that was the most recent. Like, have you two watched it?
I've watched Acolyte.
Well, see, this is the thing.
Right.
I just
think
can't.
it had moments. I think it had moments of being good. It
had the best representative of Sith in any Star Wars.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far.
I would go that far.
If I had to choose whether or not we got a season 2, I would want a season 2.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't say that about the Book of Boba Fett, and I wouldn't say that about Kenobi.
Well, this is the thing. I was going to say, like, as much as I know I will love Andor when I watch it, because I am going to watch it. It's on my watch list, but there's not that sense of immediacy. I don't care. Like Acolyte as well, I can't bring myself to care enough when there's so many other shows and so many other things that I want to watch. It genuinely is just like, who cares? But then I suppose this brings up another question of, is this necessarily a Star Wars problem or a franchise problem? Because there's so much content for every franchise. Like, even
Disney
Doctor
problem.
Who's getting spin-offs.
It's a Disney problem.
But this is the thing. And then you've got 101 Star Trek shows. You've got 101 Marvel movies and Marvel TV shows. Everything is so oversaturated that is there even such thing as a big global event that everybody cares about anymore? Like Ghostbusters as well. Nobody cares about those movies anymore, and that should be a massive deal.
It's a Disney problem. Disney have done this to themselves. It's like I don't want to get off topic, but I think Star Wars doesn't do it as much as Marvel. Marvel is terrible at it. Like, Marvel will come out with a new TV show every week. I'm surprised you haven't been asked to do one yet, Joe, because they just like, they are just consistently pushing out useless content.
They've acknowledged this now though, because I think Jon Favreau or one of the higher ups, maybe Kevin Feige, have said they're going for quality over quantity now, which obviously since WandaVision, I'd argue, hasn't been the plan. It's just been spam, but now they're slowing down a bit. Have either of you seen any of Agatha all along?
Don't want to.
No, I haven't. I've been told it's quite good.
I've watched 3 episodes. It's not the best thing I've ever seen, but what is beautiful about it, it doesn't feel like a Disney-made Star Wars / Marvel show. Do you know what I mean? It's not one of those cookie-cutter type things. And when you're watching it, it feels like you're watching a TV show. So it's not exactly like, it's not my favourite show, but there was something so refreshing about watching it and going like, this feels like an actual TV show, not just corporate mush channeled into Disney Plus.
But in my opinion, no Star Wars episode, no like Star Wars actually has that corporate feel. It still feels like Star Wars, but it's just sometimes a bit poorly written.
I watched the Ahsoka series.
I 100%. I forgot Ahsoka came out.
It's terrible.
Ahsoka isn't bad.
I completely disagree with you.
Boom.
I think corporate is the I think corporate is the downfall. Like Rise of Skywalker feels like a corporate movie. It's Solo Solo. I think is like, looking back, I hated it at the time, almost on principle. But it's probably one of the better ones. But it still just feels like a corporate movie. Like,
but once again, for every bad piece of Star Wars that comes out, there's always a counteractive another piece. So if you say to me Solo, I'll come right back with you with Rogue One. You know, for every piece of Star Wars, you get good and then bad, good then bad. And
but don't you miss the days when it was just good?
Well, nothing nowadays.
When was that?
TV
When
nowadays,
was that? My favorite.
All the
one of my
TV
favorite
nowadays
quotes.
isn't good. Like, there's always like one really good thing and then really bad thing. You know,
Hang on, but
like,
one of my favorite quotes, just what you were talking about people loving Star Wars, is I can't remember who said it, but they said the people who hate the most Star Wars are the Star Wars fans. Like that's like people who don't like Star Wars probably think some of the ones they have seen just aren't that great, whereas the people who love Star Wars love about 30% of it, and the rest, like for most Star Wars fans, there is more bad Star Wars than good Star Wars, and it's wild. But anyway, carry on, Alistair. Like state of TV, and
I just think, as I was just reiterated, that there is just for every good there's a bad, and for every bad there is a good. You know, you can't escape it. It's just how TV is nowadays.
Isn't this a Star Wars quote? Darkness rises and light to meet it.
There we go. It's on topic.
Whenever you get,
I disagree.
I don't agree either. To be fair,
I think
but
that
how?
I think that what's happened. Hang on. I think that what's happened is there's a bracket of like quality, and there's a low end and a high end, and like, you know, you'll call this stuff good and this stuff bad, and over time the whole bracket has shifted. So yes, there are good and better stuff that come out, but it's not as good as it was before. Like the best stuff that comes out now, Acolyte, like I say, I enjoyed it. I think it's on the high end of some recent Star Wars, but the best stuff that comes out now is just above average.
What are we comparing it to? Like what? Like 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3? Like what Star Wars
I think there's always
taking
a problem with,
because it changes. We're no longer doing like the Skywalker franchise. It's now completely different. We're now going down like little routes into different places.
But
of course, like some stories are going to be worse than others.
Most of it, none of it has that feeling of grandiosity. Like the Star Wars, I think they should never have done Star Wars TV shows, to be honest.
I disagree so much with that.
This is the problem. Something like Clone Wars is good because it is canon, but it doesn't have to be.
Because it's animated, there's the dissonance.
It's that different style, and it feels different. But when a Star Wars movie came out, even Episode 9, even though it was bad, it was a proper event, and the canon was being built on. Whereas now, everything's canon, and like Grand Admiral Thrawn is an absolute joke in Ahsoka. It looks like Elon Musk but blue, and it's so unthreatening. It's so ridiculous, and the fact that is canonical to the original trilogy just makes me angry. I don't want that Ahsoka. I don't want Ahsoka to technically be canon. I don't want it. Like, she was cool as like, oh, that's the apprentice from the animated show. She's not. She wasn't there in the prequels. Like, no, you're not invited to this party. I just want small doses of movies that build upon this canon. And when you throw in so many TV shows, it complicates everything so much, and it just leaves me so apathetic to the whole thing.
It's like, okay, I'm going to just throw a similar thing back to you, just in your references.
Spits and bars.
This is going on Confused Adipose channel. I could get very much hated for what I'm about to say.
Oh, dear.
I'm fine with watching Doctor Who. I don't particularly like it. I don't particularly hate it. It's fine, okay?
Boo! Get him off!
What you're basically saying, what I'm hearing is, yeah, I've watched Doctor Who. It's fine. There's good episodes, bad episodes. But Torchwood, why do I watch that? I don't want it to be canon. It's a load of rubbish.
I have the perfect counterpoint. Doctor Who, to me, is one of my favourite things because, in my mind at least, and I know this is going to cause controversy on the channel, because there's one thing that nerds always get angry at me for. Doctor Who's canon doesn't matter. Okay? I said it. Doctor Who, to me, is a sandbox. It's a sandbox of toys. You've got your TARDIS. You know what it does? It does all this. And every writer, every director, every new era, to me at least, is kind of its own thing. Like the Russell era, the Moffat era, the Chibnall era, like very much the Chibnall era, very much Classic Who, I view as their own show. They feel so stylistically different. The canon's a bit different, and you get the like you can't have the Master in every era go, I am the Master, and it still shock the Doctor. But I view them as almost their own little entities and their own like everyone. Like if I got to write Doctor Who, I'd want to do a Master reveal. It's fun. It's part of like the iconography, but that doesn't mean it's all canon. And I think it's why things like The Timeless Child work, because I don't see the Tennant Doctor as the Timeless Child. But Jodie's Doctor, I fully buy it. Do you see what I mean? I think a show like Doctor Who has such a long history and so many things that you don't necessarily need that strict canon. Whereas Star Wars, it is very, very, because it's movies as well.
we rely on canon.
It's so canon that like, it doesn't gel.
You can watch this. To the thing, like Star Wars is made like just like 1 through 9. It's made for everyone. Now, if you want a bit of a deeper, go into deeper lore, you can do, and you can explore the areas you want to explore. You don't have to do all of it. No one's making you watch anything. But you're not particularly missing out on anything.
As long as you that it's live action, though. The fact that it's live action and it has the actual actors. The fact that, like live action, the actual actors, it feels so like the fact that Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. Okay. I don't want that to be canon, but it is because it's him in the flesh.
I will explain how I see it. So I see it as literally, I've watched like Star Wars. I liked episode 2 and 3 the most, yeah. I then go and watch Clone Wars because I want to know what happened at that point. And I go, I love Mandalorians. I'm going to watch Mandalorian. And then from there, I get to see Ahsoka. I go down a bit of a loophole, a rabbit hole even, sorry. It's good fun. I like lore. It's brilliant. But, you know, if you don't believe Doctor Who's anything like that, then fine. But for other people, it is very heavily for lore for them. I think it's like how people want to interpret what they're watching. If you want to just imagine, it's a sandbox, you can do whatever the hell you want,
but it ruins the lore.
I think I stand between the two of you.
Star Wars is just pure lore. It's fantastic.
Artie, raise your hand if you'd like to speak.
I think I stand between the two of you because on principle, I kind of agree that as soon as live action TV hit Star Wars, you lost the prestige of the main films. And the good thing about Clone Wars is that distance. But also, I think that Star Wars can act as a similar sandbox to Doctor Who, but with a much more like rigid framework. And I think my problem is that The Mandalorian season 1 is so good because it alludes to this world that we know in the distance, but it stays sort of within itself as a small bounty hunter story. And then Mandalorian season 2, like it was mostly that again, and then you sort of glanced off Luke at the end, which was a really cool cameo and a really nice way to end that story of Grogu and the Mandalorian. But I think the more that we involve people that are close to the original Skywalker saga, the more you lose the prestige and the more people don't care about the story because there's so much going on. Like Bo-Katan being in The Mandalorian doesn't work for me because Bo-Katan is like, there's so much history there that people can't latch onto her because they haven't given her anything interesting apart from the stuff that people are supposed to already know. And she's just there to be Bo-Katan. It's the same with Ahsoka. I don't actually like her appearance in Mandalorian, let alone her own TV show, because there's all this baggage. Whereas if Mandalorian was just a Western set in Star Wars, that's, I think, what people found the most compelling. And I think the more that we attach the stories to the Skywalker saga, the less the Skywalker saga is significant and the less people want to engage in the new stuff.
Absolutely. You've just verbalized that's exactly where I'm coming from, because it's the Skywalker saga, categorizing it as that's perfect, because that's the Star Wars I care about. That's what I'm there for. I'm here for the story of I'm your father, etc., etc. Then that's what I want from Star Wars. I don't care whether blue Elon Musk had a scrap with Anakin's non-canon apprentice who has become Gandalf the White. It's just, oh, it's rubbish, rubbish. Get it off my screen.
It's great. It's great. I wouldn't have it any other way. Bring it all. Disney, keep pumping it out. I'll keep watching it. I'll pay my however much it charges my dad's credit card a month. I will keep watching. I love it.
No, terrible. Anyway, we've been yapping on this long enough, and my blood pressure has raised high enough that I think it is time for us to get into the tier list, because tier list of all Star Wars media. We have this tier list in front of us. It's every Star Wars film or TV show. I think it's all of them. But yeah, we'll start with one which I think we all have a differing opinion on. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Where are we putting it?
The thing is, I have, because I've been complaining so much, I have a soft spot in this moment for the things of old. So it's probably a D tier, in my opinion. But
you say D?
At the moment,
how is
I'm
that a
saying
soft spot?
C.
That's the worst it could possibly be.
At the moment, I'm saying C.
I'm saying B.
You know what? I think
that's me being harsh, because
I'm directly in the middle of both of you. I can't lie, because I prefer it to the Phantom Menace.
And you put them in the middle.
Should we go with B?
Yeah, I reckon go with B. Most of it's rubbish, but it's sort of lifted up by the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, the last 30 minutes
I was about
are
to say,
genuinely amazing.
Apart from the Yoda fight, come on now.
It's terrible. Why did they do that? That Yoda is he's the puppet that doesn't move. He's so wise in the Force. You don't need to see him swinging a lightsaber around, just like Emperor Palpatine.
He's so cool.
Have you heard that one of the artists who was supervising the effects on that scene, he went up to George Lucas and he was like, "I'm not sure this is going to work. What I think we should do is this battle between wizards, and it's just the Force." And he showed George Lucas clips from Akira and loads of anime references, and he had this really cool. And George Lucas was like, "No, the people want to see Yoda with a lightsaber."
Never leave George Lucas to his own devices.
The man's such a king.
The amount of what did he say to Carrie Fisher? There's
no bras in space.
Yeah. Oh George. Anyway, Alistair, your thoughts on the Clone Wars? No, what's it called? Attack of the Clones.
Episode 2. Once again, to be fair, I do. It is a bit slow, but because I missed the lore, I do like it, because it feels a lot of the early Clone Wars, which is my personal favorite. So yeah, B's, but it's not amazing, but it isn't bad. So B is a solid place to put it.
I don't hate it as much as other people do. It's not great. Anyway, I know exactly where I'm putting this pile of dross.
Oh, Book of Boba Fett, D.
It's got to go in D, hasn't it?
Absolutely poor. Also, I just realised on Attack of the Clones, I just want to bring up the fan theory that Anakin is accidentally using the Force to seduce Padme through that film, because at the start she hates him far too much to fall in love with him. And I just think that's really funny. Yeah, I like it. Like this idea he's so powerful he doesn't know he's doing it. Yeah. But Book of Boba Fett is awful. We don't need to talk about it. Like a bentha.
I feel I do need to talk about it, because however angry I got earlier, I want to get 10 times more angry, because it's a joke. It's a joke. Boba Fett is barely in his own show. Also, he's not really an interesting character because he doesn't do anything. Nothing happens. And it's genuinely terrible. And it undoes what was a really nice ending to The Mandalorian Season 2. Why, other than the fact that Pedro Pascal clearly doesn't want to do it anymore, so The Mandalorian's got to have his helmet back. Like, going to Mandalore to please forgive me for taking off my helmet, shut up. And Grogu, I love him, but he left. He's gone to college. Don't bring him back. It's terrible. It's rubbish. It's naff. It's
Those 2 episodes are so poor. Annoyingly, I think they're quite well made, but they're so poor in the story sense of the whole show. But also Boba Fett. Carry on.
If you just forget the implications it has on the wider Star Wars universe is
Yeah.
really fun. It's really good to watch. Like the finale of that is great fun. Them running around Tatooine, that's some of the most fun Star Wars I've seen in ages. But also when you remember it's terrible.
But also with Boba Fett, it's like you had the opportunity and the book of and seeing him going up at the end of Mandalorian season 2, shooting the guy with the tentacle around his neck and sitting in a chair. You had this opportunity to do you had this Western, and now you could do this almost mob style TV show, but set on Tatooine with Boba Fett. And at the time, I thought they were going to do different genre TV shows, a bit like what they're doing with Penguin in the Batman at the moment, just making like a series of The Sopranos, but set in Batman. It's like, that's what I thought they were going to do. And instead, they made it like they watered down Boba Fett. He's not even slightly a villain. There's no edge to his character.
He's not scary either. There's nothing about him that makes you go, oh, that's cool. It's just, oh.
He did become a bit wet. Like, he's a bounty hunter, and it wasn't great. It just wasn't great. Moving on.
Also does the age-old thing of like, he died in episode 6. I hate it's ironic as a Doctor Who fan, but I hate it when they just can't let characters die. Just let them die. Like, this man died. He's dead. Stop! He did not survive the Sarlacc pit.
I was open to it in theory because I really liked his appearance in season 2 of Mandalorian.
You what?
Yeah. In season 2, he was really good.
He was fine. Don't you think that his introductory scene, like that whole episode, just feels like a fan film, like a really high budget fan film? But where they're just in like the woods in America and they've got a really cool armor, but they're pew 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 pew. It just feels like that. And
yeah.
Like it's fine.
It was cool. I liked it. I thought he looked menacing. I thought he kept his menace, and they were able to pair him up believably with Mandalorian while also having this like threatening character. And then Book of Boba Fett soiled it. Do we have to keep talking about it?
Alistair, have you got any final thoughts, or should we be put out of our misery?
Just put it out of our misery. It's not great.
Right,
it hurts me because I want to love it all.
Yeah, but alas, the next one though, you better be on the same wavelength as me. Thank you.
S plus.
See, I reckon D.
It's got a rubbish plot twist in it. It's terrible.
D for Darth Daddy.
So good, so good. It is probably my favorite Star Wars film. Everything about it is fun. It's great because it changes like scenes completely. Like, go from Hoth to
any audio listeners. This is episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I guess
Hoth pretty much sells it. Like, where it is. Where else? So they go Hoth. They go. Oh
Dagobah.
God, Dagobah. What's the sky? Is that the Sky City? Bespin.
Cloud City on Bespin.
As a kid looking at Bespin, it was just so cool.
Also, like, if you go to episode 4, like, lightsabers, in theory were cool, but when we saw them fight, episode 4, it's not the place to watch a lightsaber fight.
Yeah.
But episode 5 is, it's the film that gave us the lightsaber fight, like in a real way. Seeing Luke face off against Darth Vader, giving it everything he's got. The man who killed his dad, and finding out that no, I am your father. That's impossible. And then it's
genuinely amazing. And I don't know what, I have such strong memories of watching this. I don't know if it would be for the first time, but when I was really into Star Wars. And it's the one that sticks in your head, I think. Like the imagery of it. Even, I don't know why, but for me, the scene where C-3PO is like in pieces on Chewbacca's back, that's always stuck with me. It's just so much fun. And like, even looking at stuff like, for example, Echo's Destiny or Brig of Destruction, I don't know, I think it's probably a similar thing. K9's head always gets blown off and strapped to someone's back, or they carry it around. And I think that comes from The Empire Strikes Back. Like, that idea has just always been so fun to me. And it's all those little things. And also, doesn't it have the people, what's his name from the Mandalorian series 1, the guy who does all the tech.
I have spoken.
Yeah, it has them in.
Spoken.
Which the world building and all of that, it's amazing. It's
the perfect expansion of the story that had been laid down so far. It takes the characters in completely new directions, and I feel it's probably Mark Hamill's best performance.
Yeah,
it's definitely Harrison Ford's best performance. Come on, the whole "I love you, I know," and like the whole stuff about how in the script it was "I love you too," and the director didn't like it, so Harrison Ford just improved "I know." And
is that actually true though?
No, that is true. The director didn't like George Lucas's. And just back when George Lucas didn't have to direct the Star Wars movies he came up with, so those moments could happen. And it's like, no wonder the best love story in Star Wars is in the movie that George Lucas didn't direct. Like, it's just a fantastic movie. And what you were saying about the imagery, he manages to tell a fantasy story and make fantasy images. Darth Vader standing over Luke over like essentially a cliff top, but he turns that fantasy composition into just an epic sci-fi tale. It's Empire's fun.
I think we're focusing, like, it's fully warranted focusing on the ending, but come on, think about the start. Like, come on,
you're
just
right.
Hoth, like that as a starting battle, you don't get a lot of that in like Star Wars, like an immediate battle. The only other time that happens is in Episode 3.
I suppose. No,
episode 1, you don't
the
get
originals.
any battles.
Yeah.
Episode 2, you have to wait all the way till the end. Episode 3, you do get one. Episode 4, basically nothing until the end. Episode 6, Hoth.
Open it on a siege.
5, 6,
like,
sorry, my bad.
Lord of the Rings. It took them 1.5 movies to get to a siege, and then Episode 5. It starts on a siege, and it just punches you in the face with it.
The last part that's not good is the when they get swallowed by that giant thing.
No, that's just fun. It's a bit of fun.
It slows down the pacing. Actually, we're not even talking about, apart from obviously the stuff on Cloud City at the end, the best part of the film, the Yoda stuff, is amazing.
It is great.
Like, that's so good.
As soon as he lands, just like R2-D2 just being comedic, like getting swallowed by the big fish, getting spat out, his little, snorkel thing. Luke sets up, Yoda comes along, starts eating all his things, and just like, I would have loved to be in that year and just not know who Yoda was, because of course all of us walked in, and it's like, for me personally, I always knew that like Anakin was Darth Vader and Anakin had Luke because I watched them in order. But I would have loved to, not know who Yoda was and just have that surprise of like, I am Yoda, big up.
And then flip of what you're expecting.
The amount of expansion on the world, it's absolutely wild how much gets introduced in that second film. Like, everyone thinks back on it. I mean, we were just doing it a minute ago, and they think Episode 5, that's I Am Your Father. But it gave us Yoda. It like fleshed out who the Jedi are. It gave us so many planets. I feel like if you ask someone to name 2 planets, Hoth would be the second one they name, even though it's only in one movie. It's just amazing. It gave us Boba Fett. How many? He barely has any lines. Doesn't he only have like 3 or 4 lines in this movie? But this movie was so good and so iconic, and that design is so iconic that he had a TV show. And isn't that going to be great when that comes out? I can't wait. What a brilliant idea!
Even some of the bounty hunters, like who were just stood there.
Well, as the resident Doctor Who fan, we've got to point out: is his name Bosk?
Yes, Bosk.
His spacesuit is from classic Doctor Who. They bought it and used it, which very cool. Anyway, carry on. IG-11.
IG-11. He was one of the bounty hunter droids. He was basically one of the main characters in Mandalorian. Boss had a huge part in Clone Wars. I think it was mainly. I think there was no. Oh, there's the other guy. I forgot what his name. That he had like.
I'll tell you another guy who got introduced. I'll tell you another guy who got introduced and stuck around from this movie. You might not remember him, but he's pretty iconic. The Emperor. The Emperor was introduced in Empire.
Yeah.
It's like this movie gave us so much, and it didn't feel like it was giving us so much. It just felt like more movie, which is where things go wrong now, because in stuff like Marvel and Star Wars, you have the moments of let's expand the world, let's give people a bit of lore, let's show them what's coming, and then you have plot. Whereas Empire seamlessly shows you just a huge expansion on this galaxy and these characters, and it also delivers like a brilliant character story.
Fair.
It was just a fantastic film.
We'll move into the next one, which
really
I think once again each three of us will probably have somewhat differing opinions on. The Force Awakens. What we thinking?
C.
It's the best of the worst.
I'm about to cause a controversy.
I wouldn't say.
Swear to God, if it goes any higher than A or A, I'm gonna.
No, it's not going higher than B. That's insane. But before you go off, because I know your opinion and it's good, and I want to let you flesh it out, I do just want to say I think Force Awakens is a good movie. I think it's really good. I think it's really well made. I just don't think it works as a sequel to Return of the Jedi. So personally, I have that massive issue with it, which is why I'm putting it in C.
I think that's fair, but also no.
Where are you going to put it?
I think the only struggle it has with being a sequel is that the characters, like Episode 6 is the end. I think sure, the Empire kind of comes out of nowhere in this film, but it's so quintessentially Star Wars, and other than like the original trilogy, it's the only bit of Star Wars ever to genuinely elicit the same feelings and emotions and joy that the original trilogy did for me. And I know lot of it's kind of rooted in nostalgia, but also a lot of it's not. Like the setting up of Kylo Ren, it's a perfectly natural thing, because you can say it's nostalgia, but also he's building on Darth Vader's legacy and he wants to complete that. And I genuinely think it might be my favourite apart from Empire. Which is controversial, but it might be.
That's straight up wild.
Episode 4 is fun, like it's really good, but it's the start. But actually, no, it's below episodes 5 and 6. It goes 5, 6, 7, 4. Those are my top 4. But yeah, there's just something magical about it. So I'm going to have to bump it up to B tier so that we somewhat.
Whoa! I haven't interjected. Because I was being nice putting it in C, because I thought you were going to let's put it in C.
Oh.
I'm going to go all out on this movie now. I'm not just going to talk about 7. I'm going to talk about 7, 8, and 9.
No, this is its own movie, Alistair.
It is not its own movie. This is a direct copy from 4, 5, 6.
No, hang on. If you're going to say that this isn't its own movie, then we have to judge episode 6 because this comes after it. Like this is its own thing. Like
it's very much its own thing. And before you do what all the YouTube comparison, no, stop. You've watched one too many Star Wars YouTube videos, man. One too many Star Wars YouTube videos. It is like poetry. It rhymes. It is not a rip-off.
It's meant to be its own thing, like every other.
No, but it is. It's still its own thing. It's its own thing, but it rhymes with the originals.
Force sensitive person on a desert island gets picked up by a bunch of rebels. And tries to fight a Dark Lord who has a planet star destroyer.
What you've just described is the Phantom Menace.
4.
You've just described the Phantom Menace.
How is that a Phantom Menace?
A force-sensitive person on a desert planet gets picked up by a
group of rebels. The only difference is they don't have a planet-destroying machine. But the point is, they rhyme. each of the Star episodes. It's literally what George Lucas
But
says.
one is
They
so.
rhyme.
Also, hang on, wait. I love the fact, if it was Snoke, I can get behind Starkiller Base being a plan. But I love the idea that the Emperor is sat around going, "What evil thing am I going to do this time? Oh, it didn't work. I'll give it another go. I'll make it bigger. It'll work." And then just the guy comes in going, "Ian, what are we supposed to be doing now?" "Well, third time's the charm." Because it's ridiculous.
It's rubbish. It's rubbish.
No,
It deserves
very, very harsh.
it deserves C because it's not as bad as 8 and 9.
I think it's great. Like
No, it's
Han
not.
Solo's death as well. I'm sorry, that's so good. That's one of my favourite Star Wars scenes. It's so sad. And did he push the lightsaber to help his son, like so that his son's not in pain anymore, or did his son push the lightsaber? Like, who did what? Like, it's so good.
I do think it's poorly
amazing.
placed. I do think it's poorly placed in this first movie, though, because I think I would have felt it a lot more if I'd have seen Kylo struggle with it for 2 movies and then kill him. But obviously, that's semantics. I'm happy if it goes in B. I do think Alistair's being too harsh, and I do think you're being too nice. But I think B
It
is
deserves
comfortable.
C. C is what it is.
Thing is, I'm seeing it next to episode 2, and I'm comfortable that they're the same. They're on the same platform.
It
Anyway,
angers me.
let's move on. Let's move on.
angers me
Down.
I think it's insane that you can sit there and genuinely believe that The Phantom Menace is better than The Force Awakens. That should be a criminal offence.
I will battle that till my last breath. I hope you understand that.
Here's another one that's going to cause a lot of controversy.
Yeah. Let's calm us down for a bit.
The Last Jedi. To be fair, I don't think it will cause controversy within us 3. I think we're pretty similar on this one.
D.
I'm gonna
D.
That's episode 8, right?
Yeah. D.
I was gonna say C.
I was going to say B.
Wait, what?
It's
he
rubbish
hates
again.
this movie.
So bad. It is. Oh my God, why did I agree to come on this? I know what your opinions are.
I forgot. You're no different to that Star Wars theory bloke that throws his toys out the pram when there's not Ahsoka and Grand Admiral Rex or whatever his bloody name is. They're terrible. This is real Star Wars right here.
Can I just say, I have
one. I have one, like...
no, you can't.
What? No.
Yeah, apparently not. Let's not talk about our Lego collections. Let's talk about the movies. Anyway, I have a massive soft spot for The Last Jedi, not because of anything like story-wise. I think all that's trash, but just whoever's idea it was to set a battle on a salt flat was just, it is ingenious. That whole final sequence until Finn doesn't die is just one of up there with the Hoth Siege. It might be my favorite like large scale battle in Star Wars. It is
Nothing happens. Good. They throw a few bloody like terrible shit.
It kills Luke.
He wasn't even properly killed.
No, wait, but Alistair, just the image of these people sieging a rebel base, and it literally is bleeding.
You have a few souped up AT-ATs walk into an abandoned rebel base, right? They send out a few, like, I don't know, land speeders, which quite frankly don't work. Then, they're all hiding in the base, right? And the next thing you know, Luke appears, and it's like, oh my God, Luke's here. And, Luke steps outside, and then like they fire all the cannons out. Oh my God! And then the resistance escapes. There's no battle. There's nothing.
Rob,
and then we find out.
I'm taking my glasses off.
Even
the glasses.
There.
No,
he wasn't even there. He could have survived after that.
Wait, hang on. If you're taking your glasses off, can I have them? My lazy eyes going.
Alistair, did you watch that film?
I'm putting my old ones on. Yes,
it
I
literally
did.
He says. What, do you expect me to go and stand there with a laser sword and blah, 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 blah? That's not how the Force works. You don't need him to go and zap, 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 zap. Us complaining about Yoda zap, zap, zapping around earlier Luke uses the Force to trick the enemy so that they can escape. It is a genius idea and a lovely way for Luke to go. My only gripe with it is that we never got a scene of Han, Leia, and Luke together on screen, which I think is a really big missed opportunity. But also, the story itself, as the years have gone on, I have started to love The Last Jedi more and more and more. It's a great story, and I know it gets memed, but the subversion of expectations, it's not where you're expecting it to go, but it's kind of where it goes in a really strong direction.
I would be fine
do
with
I have to
Snoke
remind
dying
you
if it
of
was
the ship
Plagueis
scene?
and not the Emperor.
Of the
what
ship
scene?
scene where
Which
she
ship?
flies the ship into the Snoke ship.
Oh, but this is the problem
That's
with
fine.
people
Rubbish.
like you.
I don't
This is the
understand.
problem with
Alistair,
people like
Alistair,
you.
hang on. Alistair,
Canon.
Alistair, wait, can I just say, look, that scene in in the context of the rest of the universe, like, makes no sense. But it doesn't matter. Why don't they just use the Force to pinch the arteries of anyone who tries to kill them? Because that's not what a story is. That scene looks amazing. I don't love The Last Jedi as much as I sound like I do, but you're being completely unfair to it. That scene looks amazing. It's an awesome moment. And what an explosive end to the film. Like, come on now. You've got to admit that them fighting on the salt flats, Kylo being so blinded by his rage that he doesn't sense the Force, and that Luke's there and he's just like, more.
They go to Las Vegas for about 30 minutes for the film.
I'll give you that. The Finn and Rose subplot is genuinely boring.
No one's going to disagree that Canto Bite is bad.
But I think there's so many positives, and like I think it's got, as much as I love The Force Awakens, it's got some of the best scenes in the sequel trilogy.
I'll give it one
the whole
thing.
bit with Snoke where he's like, and you turn your lightsaber to kill your true enemy.
That's cool.
Bam! That's brilliant.
Until Rey and Kylo have to fight off those red guards, that is dreadful.
No, I don't.
Although one thing, one thing I thought Last Jedi was always missing was like the first big like real lightsaber fight it could have had, Rey versus Kylo, properly, as soon as Rey says no, and instead they just sort of get separated. And I always thought that was a missed opportunity.
But I quite like the style that they go with for the sequels of. It feels like an original trilogy lightsaber fighting. It's not like a ballet. As much as it's cool, I don't like the prequels, like flipping around. I like it's like a sword fight. It's a proper whack. And sure, maybe the choreography you could argue isn't as impressive, but it feels more real. It feels more gritty, and it feels proper. Like, oh.
I'll give you that for episode 9, but the fight scene against the Red Guards is just crap.
I don't mind it. I think it's quite
just
the
rubbish.
Only decent
It's like a bunch of
is...
people like just messing around, like, so you can see them falling over with absolutely no prompting. It's a dreadful fight scene. But we could rattle on about this movie for ages.
The only
Shall we get on
scene,
to Revenge of the Sith?
The only decent scene at episode 8 is at the start, and that's where Poe takes out like the dreadnought ship. That is the only good bit.
Should we put it in B?
No. It's got to go in C. You said B, Alistair said D, and I said C.
Take it out.
In the middle. It's got to go in C. Move it
Try
down,
and
Joe.
stop me.
Move it
Try and
down.
stop me.
Move it
The
down.
laws of tier lists are mine.
All you're doing is getting more people to hate you for this, because
to be
most
fair,
people
I don't
dislike
think
this movie.
it's not as good as The Force Awakens, so I will put it in C.
But
go. Revenge of the Sith.
S.
S.
A.
S.
It is good. But
What is wrong with you?
He said A,
man. You just hate Star Wars.
It gets a little bit boring in points, but it's the best story. Like story-wise, it's great.
I've never understood the whole "it gets boring" thing. I've just never got that. Usually, when people say movies like the Avatar movies, I like them, but I can see why people find them boring. But where in Revenge of the Sith does it slow down?
Well, I also think there's a few little things like Obi-Wan never. Like, it's why you get the Obi-Wan series. Why does Obi-Wan never just sort of go like, Anakin, Anakin, this isn't you. You're a good guy. What are you doing? He just sort of he's oh no, he's killed younglings. Okay, Anakin's horrible. I feel like
because
I
he
don't know.
killed younglings.
No, but
And
they
also,
have a
because
stronger
it's like
bond than that, and it just I don't know.
no, it's the whole like fallacy of like how good the Jedi is. He kind of does it because he's told to.
Mm.
And like it's like I like this the Jedi become benign, and it's like, well, like Yoda says I've got a plan, and basically the plan revolves down to I'll fight this guy, you get the other guy, and it's like, no, I love that. And also Anakin starts the fight, like Obi-Wan does at the start go like your anger and your lust for power, those are the things that like blah 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 blah. And he didn't get to enter the conversation how he'd like to, because Anakin was talking to Padme, and then just randomly goes, "You're with him, liar." Like I just that Mustafar sequence is like it somehow makes sci-fi feel like Shakespeare. It's ridiculous, and it's amazing.
It is good. It's good.
It's got to go in S.
It also has probably the best like opening scene of all Star Wars.
Definitely the best opening of any Star Wars. Maybe Hoth, but I'd argue this.
Now,
Hoth was still pretty slow at the start. It was definitely like, Hoth.
Oh yeah, no, because Hoth, you had all that bollocks with the creature.
It was still a little bit slow, but episode 3, it was like dun 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 dun.
Like that
you
is
just get the senators rolling in. You get Obi-Wan and Anakin rolling in.
Episode 3 starts, and you're just like,
oh,
there's episode 3 starts, and you're like, oh, this is the Star War we were talking about. Oh, cool. It's like we never see anything like that.
One of my favourite Mark Commode quotes is, "Can somebody take George Lucas's computer away from him?" and various other profanities along those lines. Do you need that much CGI?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes.
Because I think my main problem with the prequels is
you come in for my job, Joe.
Unlike the sequels, it doesn't
just because
feel
Doctor Who
as
can't
real.
afford it.
No, but it doesn't feel as real. It doesn't feel grounded.
No need to
because
come
the sequels.
No need to come after my series.
The sequels and the originals perfectly blend CGI with real things, and the prequels just feel so digital, which is kind of charming for parts of it, but I don't know, a lot of this, it just feels too CGI.
I have 2 things to say. Thing 1 is movies would not look as good as they did now if Star Wars, the prequels, didn't invest so heavily in them. Like digital cameras and huge amounts of VFX advanced so much through the course of making those movies. So the reason the sequels look so good is because of how bad the prequels looked. Second thing, I've always liked, and this is a very personal thing, I'm not saying this is qualitative at all, but in the prequels, because the dialogue is awful, it feels like watching a Shakespeare play. And it's like, in the same way that the flats at the back of a stage don't look like, Scotland or wherever Macbeth is set. For me, it's that same thing. It feels like you're watching a play. The backgrounds sort of give an impression of a scene, and I love the aesthetic of the prequels. I get what you're saying, but I love it.
Yeah, it's the Yoda fight scene that is the main culprit that just annoys me. I hate seeing him flipping around, and then seeing the Emperor flipping around as well. It's silly, and it's like there's too much CGI.
Shot in all of Star Wars. The worst shot in all of Star Wars is when the Emperor is like this and going.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, Alistair,
Anyway.
Final thoughts on Revenge of the Sith?
Great movie, great times. Definitely keep it an S tier.
Okay, this one I'm going to put in D tier.
If you dare do that. I know where you live.
Hang on.
I know. Where are my car keys? I don't make me.
I'll
because
let you
would.
two nerd about this because I've only seen bits of it, but take it away.
It's amazing. It's
so good.
To be honest, when I'm rating it, the whole show is quite good. It's like a B, but when you ask me to rate that show, I'm rating the 4 Umbara episodes and the 4 final episodes, and those 8 episodes of TV are some of the best Star Wars that's ever come out, and they have to be put in S. I'll give you A, or I'll give you A, but like it's so good. The final 4 episodes are just insanely clever and it's so good. I don't know what else to say.
It pains me seeing it in A. It genuinely does, because it is just an incredible TV show. Like,
I think A is fair.
for what it was, because it was like a kids' TV show, and they turned it into something so much more. And it's something that rivals movies. Quite literally, that beats 7, 8, and 9, and some of like the prequels as well. Like,
but the thing is, and the reason I'm happy with it in A is because you're thinking about like 8, maybe 12 brilliant episodes.
Yeah,
and those brilliant episodes are insane, and none of it is bad. Even the stupid droid episode that George Lucas says is his favorite, I think is fun kids TV. But
so good.
It's overall. Like,
I'm not even. This is my point now. I'm not even saying, like. It's just that there's a feeling that you get watching it, and it's just like this. Oh, like it just makes you feel so good, and I think the good guys will always win in the end.
I think you're blinded by nostalgia, though, because
that is the feeling he's describing.
Yeah, but this is the problem. Like, if you look at it
as a kid as well.
Some of it's terrible. Like, she's not my girlfriend, Anakin.
It's fantastic.
Roger,
I'm not being funny.
Who's Roger?
Fantastic.
I'm not being funny. No. Yes, the girlfriend might be.
Daleks
yes, the girlfriend
stupid.
might be
Shut up.
a bad line. Yes, the girlfriend might be a bad line. But the idea of Obi-Wan having his love interest, which explains why, even though he probably knew stuff was going on between Anakin and Padme, he just thought it'll be fine. I'll sit back. And then, like, it's so good. It is an A TV show. I don't think it's an S, but it is so good. And that nostalgia thing we have is definitely there. But you, at the same time, you're an adult watching the clangers going, this isn't compelling. Like,
no, but I watch the clangers and I go, I get why kids in the 70s would want to see this. That's cool. Whereas this, like, as I say, this was technically the first Star Wars I ever saw, and I was bored by it. I genuinely just don't care. And I think there's so many little cringy things, and I love kids.
You had terrible taste as a kid. You like The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I love kids shows that don't talk down to their audience. And when watching Clone Wars as a child, I just felt like, I'm not as thick as you think I am, mate. Give me a more compelling story. Now, I will give you the later stuff, like that. I think that is challenging for kids to watch. Like, it doesn't talk down to them, but so much of this felt so by the books, basic, like, we are the good ones, we are the bad ones, we are good men doing good men thing. It cringe, basic, talks down to its audience.
Okay, let me go through it. So series 1,
we do not have
we can't
time.
hear this.
I'm rating this. Series 1
it's an
had
A-list
bangers in
TV
it.
show. Let's go. Let's carry on. We're on The Bad Batch, and I'm going to argue that's a C tier TV show.
I've never seen an episode. Alistair, where are you putting it?
It's a hard one, because, like, Artie can't comment because he's not seen all of it. I've seen every single episode multiple times.
He's a long-term Star Wars fan.
Yeah, what can you say?
It's B. The whole reason behind me saying B is it's nowhere near as good as Clone Wars. There are some episodes where you're just sitting there going a bit like, but like it does have this really nice storyline and the visuals are amazing.
You can't have that on the same level as an actual one of the Star Wars movies. I don't think. I think Bad Batch. Like, I've seen an episode of it and it was just cringe. It was terrible. It was dreadful, and I hated it.
Let's go with C, because C is not technically bad. It's just that this list is screwed because there's no
F. I genuinely am really struggling to believe why I joined this podcast, because your opinions are wrong, Joe. Bad Batch. You can't just say,
is wrong.
I watched one episode and it was terrible. Well, I once watched an episode of Torture and I thought it was terrible. So your TV show can go in the bin as well.
I'm
Like-
happy to talk about how bad Torchwood is as well.
We'll save that for another video.
Like,
But I think the problem with
Bad
Bad Batch, it's
Batch
cringe.
is
It's
good.
cringe. It's
It's good.
It's so cringe. Their episode of Clone Wars as well. I've seen the one where they're introduced. It's so cringe. It's so cringe.
There are some
I can't
episodes
stand
like
it.
Clone Wars that are cringe because it's animated. It can't all be serious. Well, none of Star Wars is 100%
It doesn't need
serious.
to be serious. It just needs to be good. And I
It
think
is
it's
good.
cringe. It's cringe.
It is good. Like there are like it's one of the only pieces of Star Wars where a character genuinely just stayed dead, and it's quite nice to see. Like a major character just
That's
didn't
like
come
giving
back.
Star of the Week to the naughty kid who didn't throw the chair at the interactive whiteboard. Like,
But for
it did
Star Wars,
one good
pretty
thing.
good.
Like,
But like
no.
it's just like there was a lot of back and forth. I'll give you that. Wait, I'm just trying to think.
Well, think no more, because Kenobi is next up on this list. Where are we putting this?
Kenobi, I think I probably hate too much, but for me, it is the worst Star Wars content that came out,
Is
and
it?
it's definitely the one I hate the most because it may not be as cringy as Book of Boba Fett, but the wasted opportunity. Ewan McGregor is so good in the prequels. Like Hayden Christensen has the capacity to sometimes act like that. You could have made an amazing TV show, and instead you made that like it's called Kenobi, and so much of it is about Reva. I did not sign up for 8 episodes where, that aren't just about Kenobi.
But I think she's quite an interesting character, to be fair.
I agree with you. So introducing a different TV show.
No, because I think the stories and I can't remember. It doesn't happen in the final TV show, but in the original, because the guy who came up with one of the original pitches, I watched a video on the other day. And the original plan for Reva was she ends up knowing that Obi-Wan isn't dead, but Darth Vader thinks he is, and she knows he isn't, but she lies to Darth Vader and he kills her, or something like. And it was like a really nice character, and it tied her bond with Obi-Wan
but the thing
really
is that
well.
that didn't happen.
But this is the wasted potential of these characters and these ideas is insane because it could have been great. Like it could have been. It could have been brilliant. But I don't hate it as much as you. I think I'd give it C tier.
Thing is, though, not only could it have been great, I also don't like it because fundamentally, I don't think Obi-Wan and Darth Vader should meet between episodes 3 and 4. But I just think they had this massive emotional battle. And then they part ways, and the next time they see each other, the one that's chosen the light is over it, and the one that's chosen the dark and hatred and rage it isn't, and wants to prove himself.
I disagree though, because I've always wondered, right, why would Darth Vader not go after Obi-Wan if he thinks he's still alive? He'd go after him. He'd want to hunt him down. And I think it makes complete sense. They didn't quite do it like this, but the part of Anakin that still lives, I think, should be the part motivated by finding Obi-Wan. And when he believes that Obi-Wan is dead, he fully becomes Darth Vader because all parts of Anakin are gone. But I think it makes complete sense for them to have met once more. Because also the whole, my powers have doubled since the last time we met, all that. I think it implies there was another meeting.
No, I don't know. I just disagree. I also thought it was really cringy. I can't remember the exact dialogue, but doesn't Darth Vader say, "Anakin Skywalker is dead. I killed him," and it's like, no,
Right.
we get the subtext of Episode 4. We get the idea that Darth Vader did kill Anakin because he turned evil and the man that was Anakin is dead. We get that. You don't need to say it out loud.
Hang on, no, but that's not the point in the line. The point in the line is Obi-Wan blames himself, and that is the last part of Anakin going, "Look, mate, don't worry, it wasn't you. I did this to myself. You're not to blame." which I think that's lovely.
No.
No. Alistair, you've been awfully
Sorry.
quiet. You're a lover of the prequels. Are you a lover of Obi-Wan Kenobi?
It was okay.
Insightful as ever.
See,
It's
you
just
have an
okay.
Obi-Wan TV show with Ewan McGregor and the Star Wars fanatic who can't get over how good things are. Don't put it in C. Put it in D.
No, but I think it's still, I like it as a TV show because there are really good moments, like the confrontation between Reva and Vader where he
It doesn't-
forces the lightsaber and stuff, like little moments like that and certain episodes. And I really like the subplot with young Leia. I think that flows really nicely because it's not what you expect, but the story presents it nicely. So I'd give it more than D, but not much more.
I disagree with you, but I guess we'll move on to The Mandalorian. I'm sure Alistair will perk up now.
Alistair, you're up.
Right then. So
Here we go.
Example A. There we go. Example B is also down here. There. You can just about see it. All concept arts. Up there, mostly Mandalorian. So I'm going to put it in D. JK, we're putting it in S. It's a fantastic show. Lot of fun. Best Star Wars episodes to pretty much come out ever. It pretty much does the series perfectly through, what is it, 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 at the minute? I can't remember.
I can't tell if you're joking.
No, I'm being deadly serious. I love Mandalorian. It's great. I genuinely love
S.
it. It's S. S.
There's
S.
an argument for A.
You're going down a path I
S.
cannot follow.
No,
You can follow.
mate.
It's fantastic.
It's
hits
B.
the
It's-
right
it is B.
chord.
It's B or C.
Fantastic.
It's not C.
No, I'm
There's no-
sorry. Series 3 was appalling.
But series 1
No,
and 2
but
were
still,
amazing.
Series 1 and 2 are brilliant. That's like saying Doctor Who's bad because it hasn't been good in the last 6 years. No, it's still an S tier TV show.
No, but
Like-
if a third of a show is bad, and I'd argue a lot of Series 2 was quite mid.
Hang on.
Like-
if we did a ratio of the Doctor Who series we like we could. But either way,
Overwhelmingly,
that's
it's good.
That's Doctor Who.
Are we going with A
no.
then?
No.
I would say
It's got
no. It's A.
it's B.
No,
It's
It's A. It's
It's
A.
real.
It's A. I
At
was
its best.
I was shooting a bit high for S. It's A.
At its best, it's just like really good filler.
Are you joking? Can't you just remember the hype and how good it was? And every week we used to meet up and just go,
Yeah.
that was awesome. Even when we were in series 3, each of us would call and just say,
No,
yeah,
we wouldn't.
no.
I sat with
No,
Artie in
that
my
is to
living
say-
room of my
That's-
uni house, absolutely slating Series 3 as it was coming out. We watched 2 episodes in that uni house, both of which we were like, this is terrible. And every 5 seconds, you hear the when he does anything, and it's cringe, it's terrible. Every bit of
Sorry,
character
Joe. Can
development,
you just do that for me again?
every bit of character development ever happening in that show gets reversed. He learns to take off his helmet. Nah, pop it back on, but Pedro can't be bothered. Oh, Grogu's gone. He's going to train. Nah, we'll have him back. It's terrible. It ruins itself. Series 1's a nice western. Series 2 is like, oh dear, with a
It
good
is
ending. Series 3 is terrible.
Let's move on because yeah.
The clock is ticking. A New
Yes.
Hope, I'm going to put in A.
Yeah, fair. Has
Where's
Alistair just left
Alistair
us?
vanished to?
It was like B-tier Mandalorian, not for me.
Oh, we'll carry on without him. A tier.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point,
A tier,
Alistair.
it's-
Excellent work. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
thinking the same. We need him here for the Phantom Menace. Actually, we can.
Oh man, it's not
we
as
can-
good as Mandalorian.
we can throw whatever this is. Star Wars Resistance.
Resistance,
And didn't watch.
yeah.
Have you seen it?
Never got round to watching
Yeah,
it.
and I don't want to. He's
There
back.
he is.
Sorry, I had an intruder.
Where are you putting Phantom Menace, Alistair?
Uh,
Are we just glossing over episode 4?
Well, it's got to go.
Yeah,
now.
okay, fair enough.
yeah, episode 4.
Like,
I think we
it's-
can all agree it's A. It's
We've
just
got the originals enough to know that it's got to be up there.
It's
Phantom
you know,
Menace. B.
B. I'm with you.
I think it's lower than Attack of the Clones and definitely a lot better than Last Jedi. So I'd be tempted with C.
but-
Are you both going B?
This tier
It's
list really
definitely
annoys
B.
me because we put episodes like Bad Batch should be in B. It's a great. The thing is with Bad
No.
Batch, I think I'm getting my series confused.
Thing is with Batch Batch.
Bad Batch.
Me
No,
when
let's
Bad Batch.
come on. We moved on from Bad Batch. I do think people overhate on Phantom Menace. I think people overhate on the pod race sequence. I think it's a really nice sequence. I think that the Duel of Fates is obviously one of the best fight scenes ever put to screen. But I also think it's got some of the most boring, dull sci-fi anyone's ever written. So it's like some of it is S and some of it is D. So B works for me.
I think it's by far the most boring of all Star Wars movies.
No, episode 2. Episode 2 spends so much time just milling around.
No, but I don't know. I feel, or at least when I watched it as a kid, I was more engaged with episode 2. Episode 1, I just genuinely don't care. And I think all power and all love to Jake Lloyd, but he can't act in this film. And it's not even his fault, because if you've seen the audition tapes and stuff,
yes, the man who was almost Anakin Skywalker.
No. Jake Lloyd is genuinely quite good. And there's other movies he's in where like you can see why he was cast as Anakin. But George Lucas, no offense, mate, can't direct very well. And he gave there's this interview
Also,
with another guy.
The dialogue's dreadful.
Well, that's the thing. There's an interview with this angel. There's this guy on set who was saying like George would never, like with child actors, you have to go like and talk to them and do it naturally. George would over rehearse for all the CGI elements to the point where Jake Lloyd would kind of just be sat there like, here's my line. And that's not his fault. That's a directing thing. So
also, there's like, if you've seen the audition tapes, there was a kid who was almost cast as Anakin Skywalker, and he is just better. But they went with Jake Lloyd because he'd been in other films, and it's such a shame to know like what happened to Jake Lloyd, because he's not a bad actor, and it's just a shame. But anyway, that's quite dark, so let's move on.
One thing I will say on that topic, there's a video which isn't funny at all, where they've edited his car chase with the "now this is pod racing" stuff, and it's wild. The internet's a dark place. But Alistair, final thoughts on the Phantom Menace?
I can't believe the confused Adipose just brought up that video. Anyway,
I think it is
Rogue One on
A. Excuse me, I was
asking
a question.
Shut up, Alistair.
You're not the host.
I thought he'd moved on. I wasn't paying attention.
Go and talk to David Tennant, who's been weirdly staring at you for this whole time. Right. So yeah, I think it is beautifully B. That is the only thing for it. There is really nice moments, and there is also not so nice moments. It's just, I think it's a fun movie from the past. And I do think when I rewatch it, I don't rewatch it because it's good. I think I rewatch it because I go, oh, this is brilliant, because I watched this when I was young with my parents, and I used to imagine I was in a pod race, just the good old times, I do think it is heavily a nostalgic movie, but I think Maul and Qui-Gon were the steal of that movie by far. Yeah. That's what made it as serious as it did. Everything else was a bit of a joke. But
I love the fact that the music for when Qui-Gon dies is called Qui-Gon Gets Stabbed, and spoilt it for anyone who saw the score. Yeah, it was the music was released a week before the movie, and that piece is literally called Qui-Gon Gets Stabbed. But anyway, sorry, Alistair.
But I think episode 1 also had the best. Talk about music. I think it had the best music.
Yes, no, episode 2 has the best music. Come on, Across the Stars. That is,
and across to Rogue One. Where are we putting it?
That was a horrible transition. It's either B or A.
I think.
B or A.
No. B.
No.
Yeah. No, it's good. It is good.
It is not better than The Mandalorian, Force Awakens, and Episode 2. Are you mental?
Yes, it is. It's definitely better than Episode 2. It's definitely better than Force Awakens. Right. And yeah, actually, no, it's definitely... Yes, it's... I'd put it. I'd say it's as good as episode 4.
What?
Episode
That's
4 is brilliant,
wild.
but it gets loads of credit because it's the first one, and it is brilliant. But like, I'd say Rogue One's a better movie.
I am vehemently B tier. Alistair, where are you thinking?
B tier.
Okay,
Then
I'll sure.
B tier it shall stay. It is good and it's got very
Yeah, no,
cool visuals,
it's
but it's
solid.
nothing. It's nothing especially special in my opinion.
I think
Just-
it's what
fine.
every like non-Skywalker series movie should be like at that sort of
Yeah.
level. You know, it's solid, but it wasn't
Mhm.
anything. It wasn't anything astronomically good. It was just, you know, like you walked out of the movie theater and you went, "That was a good film. I enjoyed that." You know, that's what every non-Skywalker Star Wars film should be, and they did it
And
very,
it
very well.
interacted.
Oh my god! I've just remembered the Vader scene.
sequence.
Yeah.
It interacted with the Skywalker saga to exactly the right level.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
not a part of the Skywalker saga, but it contextualizes itself within the world, and that is what I think stuff like Mandalorian should have stayed doing.
100%.
But yeah, I'll let you put it in B.
Now,
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi. I'd argue S.
It's either A or S. That is indisputable. No, it's S, isn't it? I think it's better than 4.
Artie,
I
what
think
do you
it's
think?
better than
it's
4.
better than 4.
I struggle with Return of the Jedi because I think it's like the middle bit is so boring. Like, just the middle of the movie is so dull. Like,
Was this in
it
6?
starts with Tatooine and all of that, and then they go to Endor, and when they get to Endor, they faff around with the Ewoks while they wait for Luke to go and have a spiritual journey.
But the
And-
Ewoks are fun. They have a speeder bike chase. They get to see C-3PO, a bit of the funnies. You know, they get trapped by the net. C-3PO becomes king. You know, it's a bit of a laugh. And then, you know, you get the big, you know, like the big fight. I'd say it's S.
I'll give you S. Actually,
I think it would be the
I just
bottom end
wanted
of
to give it a
S.
check. Yeah,
Like of those
it's-
3, it would be bottom end of S, but it's still S. if that
I
makes-
prefer it to episode 4.
yeah,
yes,
definitely.
yeah, definitely.
But do you prefer it
But-
to episode 3?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, by a long shot.
I'd say
actually, yeah.
I say it's on par for me. They're 2 very different movies.
Really?
They're 2 very different movies.
I think the
Wow.
ending of Return of the Jedi is basically perfect. It's a perfect
Yes, it is.
ending. Like you
Um,
you don't need any more Star Wars. As much as I love Episode 7, that's a perfect ending.
the
And-
redemption of Darth Vader is
Yeah.
just like
But I think how episode 3's ending was done, that was just as good. But once again, as I was trying to say, it's a completely different movie.
But I think the ending of Episode 3, while it's good, you kind of want and need another part because, like, at least obviously it's different per person. But for me, at least, most media I watch for like. I want a nice feeling at the end of it. You want the sad one, like if it's a trilogy. Usually, the middle one you get devastating ending, everything's messed
no,
up.
but it's
Well,
not.
that was your
by
episode
the
3.
end,
I think episode
you
3
want-
did that really well, and that's
Yeah,
how
but
episode
you
6
want-
did it.
You want the sense of happiness and
If
they
we
all
go-
live
the end
happily
is
Go
ever
for
episode
after.
my-
6.
If we go
The
for
end is
my
episode
brain
6. You can't
damaged
end.
brain, like
No, but that's what I'm saying. I think episode 6 I like more because that
Nice
is
ending.
truly an ending and it feels proper.
nicely wrapped
That
up.
seems bizarre. That's like saying episode 5 isn't as good just because it's not the last one. Episode 3 doesn't need to have a happy ending.
Yeah, but no, but
Like-
episode 5 is like your midfielder of like Star
Yeah.
Wars movies. It just can do everything.
It's,
It can shoot,
that
score,
football
pass, and
analogy.
defend. Yeah, but
I understand this football.
it can just do everything. It's basically the Dacia Sandero. It can do everything.
That's exactly
Good
what I was
news.
thinking. Right, Andor. I haven't seen it,
S.
so this is up to you two. I've
S.
heard very good things.
Yeah, it's either S or A. Yeah, I'm going to say S.
I'm going to predict
it's-
an S from me as well because from what
It
I've
angers
very
me
good.
because I don't want to say it's better than Mandalorian.
It's-
It is.
It is. The thing with Andor is that it is like it's a good Star Wars show second, and it's a good TV show first.
Yeah.
It is.
It's just
It is very, very good TV. Like, I'm not even saying
Prison.
Star Wars. I'm saying TV.
I don't want to talk about it too much because I really want Joe to watch it. But
I don't want spoilers, but
there's 3 episodes that everyone knows which 3 I'm talking about, and the S.
Do you know
Am
what?
I right, viewers?
Weirdly enough, I've never rewatched it, and I've just kind of thought I should probably go and do that because I did finish it, and my mate John said, "Should I watch it?" I was like, "Definitely, it's one of the best pieces of Star Wars I've seen in a while." And he came back, and he's not like a major Star Wars fan, but he likes watching it. He's like a casual viewer, and he goes, "That was fantastic." I think it's because they don't really rely on any like heavy lore characters. It's very much, its own separate thing.
It's very much just the world.
It's just good. It's just good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm optimistic. I'll let you know what I think once I've watched it. But Solo, well,
B.
I'm inclined to put it in C or B.
It's a C.
I think C. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's way better than Kenobi. Well, I disagree with Kenobi being that high. I suppose I'm happy with it alongside The Last Jedi. I won't challenge you there.
Yeah, I think how does Han Solo get his name? Because isn't it really stupid?
He's called Han, and then they ask him his surname. No, they ask who his people are. And he says, "I have no people." And the guy goes, "You're alone. I'll put Han Solo."
Oh,
Yeah, it's
not
no
a bad movie.
That's
It's not a great
but this
movie.
is the thing. That's the stuff that feels like it was movie by committee. But the stuff that isn't that is just really good. Like the sequence on the train is brilliant. The end is neat. Getting Warwick Davis in playing the extra he played from episode 1, that's hilarious. It's I like Solo. It's just a fun heist movie.
fair. Yeah, I don't. It doesn't do anything offensive. It's not terrible. It's just there. Like I'm very indifferent to it. It exists as a piece of Star Wars media. Good for it. Now, what on earth is this?
Tales of the Jedi.
I haven't
Sorry,
seen
is that Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Empire? Are we classing it as
Just-
both?
Sure.
Because they're sister shows. So what one focuses on like the light side, one focuses on the dark. Have either of you watched them?
Nope.
I've seen them. Well, no, I've seen Tales of the Jedi.
Tales of the Sith is so much better. Genuinely great. They're fun. It's basically it's Clone Wars. It's like Clone Wars series ending 7 level of CG, not CG animation. Sorry, just for backlogs of characters like Count Dooku and stuff like that. It's short episodes. It's fun episodes. It's nothing special. It's solid like C or B. It's not bad. It's not great. It's fun.
The thing is, I reckon, at least with Tales of the Jedi, they came up with 2 episodes and thought we should make a series, called it Tales of the Jedi, and just tell these short stories. And then after they thought of those 2 episodes, they were like, "Oh no, we've got to come up with 8 more."
It doesn't feel like that though, because it's like Tales of the Jedi isn't great. I'll give you that. It focuses mainly on Ahsoka.
Well,
But
yeah, I haven't seen
Tales of the Empire. Fantastic. Really like it. Do you know the lady who in Mandalorian she's in Ahsoka, I think. She's the one with the Beskar staff.
Yes.
Yeah, she's one of the main characters in Tales of the Empire, and her whole backstory is quite clever on how they do it. If you like Clone Wars, and one of the best episodes of Clone Wars, which is Attack on Dathomir, it has one of the best episodes of Dathomir. I think out of all of the episodes of Dathomir in Clone Wars gets trumped by Tales of the Empire, just of the level of how good it is. Because it's just
okay.
Like I don't have a clue what any of these words mean.
Dathomir is
the home planet of Darth Maul.
Star Wars.
Darth Maul, what's wrong with you?
Darth the Maul the Mayor. Anyway, I've realised Ahsoka's not actually on this list, so shall we all conclusively say that it deserves D tier?
D.
No, C.
Well, see, I think Ahsoka's. I
think
Ahsoka
as a character is terrible, but the characters around her were better.
Actually, yeah, you know what? I'd say C. Actually,
it
was quite fun in points. It wasn't all terrible.
Whoever the Sith was, do you know the guy who unfortunately died?
Oh, he was great. Yeah,
he was awesome. He was one of the best interpretations of Sith, apart from Acolyte, which also isn't in this tier list, is it?
Oh yeah. Where are you putting Acolyte quickly?
Acolyte would be a B for me.
B. It's all right. It's not great.
But
It's
I
like
still haven't seen it.
it's like the, in my opinion, is the best. It's just an interpretation of like the OG Sith. It's good fun. Like it is. It just proves that it's a nice little twist of like the Jedi aren't always right in the right. Sometimes the Sith have got a point, if that makes sense.
Is that a twist? Isn't that the whole point of the prequel?
No, but like even still, it's like when you look at the prequels, it's like, oh, the Jedi like were good. You know, they're like everyone who you see, they're good people, or you know what I mean. Anakin kind of gets like confused and stuff and does what he does. In Acolyte, you quite literally see Jedi atrocities. Like you get to see like another side, like a civilian side of just like Jedi weren't always fair, and like they just did shady stuff 24/7.
Isn't it? It's just sort of it's got some nice ideas, and it's kind of bogged down by like a wider mediocrity, but some of it is really good, and some of it is really
it's worth the watch. It is. I'd say watch
Definitely
Andor
worth a
first.
watch.
The
Watch
fact that
Andor
it's
first.
cancelled though puts me off because I don't want to get
actually,
into
no,
it.
it's not worth a watch. It's not worth a watch.
Yeah.
I
Also,
still
they
think
cancelled
it
it.
is.
We'll
I still
end on
think
a
it is.
bang, so I've moved episode 9, but let's just quickly power through Visions. Where are we putting Visions? I haven't seen
It's
it.
C, it's fine.
Can I quickly talk about it because I have watched it?
You quickly.
Visions is really nice just because they get other people to do their own stories and visuals. It's just a nice little like it's almost like fan made. It's nice to watch. That's it. That's all I got to say.
Is it just little stories of random?
Yeah, little.
Yeah,
It's so it's their
like
own
The Boys
stories
Diabolical.
and their own like animation styles, which makes it really nice to watch.
Can I just say, like, I really love that these kind of TV shows are coming out. I think What If is the weakest of them, but between like this and like The Boys Diabolical, and there's one called Level Up coming up next year. You've got Love, Death and Robots. I love that we're starting to see these anthology animation stories. And sorry, it's entirely irrelevant, but
It's good fun.
but
It is nice. It's nice to see. There's some
Right.
episodes that absolutely bang.
Star Wars Rebels. I overall find it quite cringe, but there are some really good scenes, like the death of Darth Maul is genuinely insanely good. So
It's clever.
I'd say maybe a B,
It's going to be B or C.
maybe a
I
C,
think it's
because overall it's a bit cringe.
C.
Yeah, it is. Rebels was just a replacement for Clone Wars as like the kids show, and even still, that turned into more adulty as it like went along, and they kept on just making kids replacements.
Ever reach the height of Clone Wars? I think
It
the
never did,
animation's
but
poor.
it's still Clone Wars kind of like pulled it along. It was good. It was fine. It did.
Yeah,
It
but
was,
that's the thing. I think there's really good highlights of it, but overall it's quite mid. Especially
I watched it.
You've
There
watched
is
the full
actually-
thing.
No, I watched it because of the Darth Maul Obi-Wan scene, and that's the best scene in it. There's no other scene that makes you go wow.
actually,
But it's neat. It's neat, and I'm sure kids love it. I did watch it in my late teens, but it's a C TV show.
I have watched it all, but I have also watched it a different way. On YouTube, there's like a whole compilation of just important points that keeps that knocks out all like the kid funny stuff and just includes the lore stuff, which is really good to watch if you want to like have an understanding of what it's about.
I've never done that. I've only watched the show. I think I've watched it through twice, but
I've only done it once.
But one thing I do want to say, and this might be worth it going in S, is that the Sith Lords have these double lightsabers that spin, and they use them as helicopter blades.
It's just stupid. But also, I kind of respect it for the medium, like for animation vibes. Now,
doesn't work.
Final one. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Bring it. Bring it. Bring it.
I don't think there's a fight here. It's crap.
It's D.
I hate you.
It's genuinely quite bad. There's
It's
about
D.
3 scenes in it which are really, really good. The rest of it is quite crap.
It's just awful. And it makes me so angry because I think that some of the best acting
Can you just put
happens
it
in
in?
it. Daisy Ridley is amazing as Rey, and she is so let down. I get so annoyed on her behalf of how bad those movies are because she is so good and gets so much hate
Also,
because she's
Finn.
just let down.
There's not a single character that gets a good arc. They're all ruined by the end.
Boyega. John Boyega is probably one of the most charismatic young actors at the moment, and you don't see him in stuff. And like, that's probably because Star Wars made him hate being in movies.
Put it in didn't watch. I didn't really watch it.
Oh, it's just bad, isn't it?
Do you know? Fun fact.
It's really bad.
Fun fact. I haven't seen it since we saw it in cinemas.
Have you not?
I've
not
never
even once.
never rewatched it.
Wild.
I've rewatched 7 and 8 before. I'll admit to that, but never 9. I've actually the only thing I've done the most I've ever done. Do you remember when I did the? Do you remember when Bitcoin? No, what was it? GameStop. Do you remember when GameStop crashed during COVID? Do you remember the meme I made?
No.
It was like of all of like the ships coming together. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, well,
that is the only time I had to grab a clip and I had to like rewatch a certain part of it. That is the most I've ever done it, and that's for a TikTok. That's how much I hate that film.
I've rewatched it lots of times, but if you want to see me react to it and the rest of the Star Wars movies, go and watch the Star Wars vlog on Upmaster44 at Instagram.
Go and have a look. But yeah, you know what? I don't think it's the worst film ever, and I don't hate it. And I think if you dissociate it from, like,
it's the worst of the Star Wars, and I
disagree because I actually
I
have more fun watching it than things like the Phantom Menace. But
it's wild.
But if you put it in the main problem for me with the sequels is it's a battle. You get The Force Awakens, which is going in one direction. The Last Jedi goes the opposite direction. This then goes the opposite direction to both of the others, and it's like, what is going on? As its own film, if you imagine it as part of a different trilogy, which I know sounds ridiculous, but if you do, it's all right to watch. Like the quests they go on, like seeing Lando, all of that, the Emperor, it's not terrible. But as a Star Wars film and part of the connected universe and part of the canon and an addition to the Skywalker saga, it's absolute rubbish. It's naff. It's a bad film.
Also, it has the worst score. It's I despise it. My 3 least favorite movies of all time are Rise of Skywalker, Lion King 2019, and Justice League, the Joss Whedon cut, because they are all just soulless, all like just made to try and churn money and for no other reason. And
I don't hate Lion King.
The 2019 version.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh.
It's just Lion King, but in live action.
Worse.
But not live action because it's not real. But yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, I guess
Anyway, there we go. The list. Where has Alistair gone? The list is done, and I think we've autopsied Star Wars quite well. What would we say as a conclusion to this? What's the final cause of death? What killed Star Wars?
Saturation. Just the amount. If you look at all of the icons on this screen and count how many came out before 2010.
And how many actually deserve to be things that exist? Because half of these don't need to exist, in my opinion.
And there are 2 TV shows missing.
Yeah.
It's wild the amount on screen, and only 6 of the icons came out. No, sorry, 7, including Clone Wars, came out before 2010.
I am going to wrap this up right then. So Star Wars, great. It will always be great. You're meant to slightly hate on it because you know what? Sometimes they do good things, sometimes they do bad. But at the end of the day, you've got to sit there and you've got to lap it up, because if you watch it without having your brain turned on, which I do a lot of the time because my brain isn't normally on, you get to love it. You see, these two, they're media students. They don't understand anymore. They watch movies and critique it. Watch movies for fun, people. That's what we're here to do. And just enjoy it. It's Star Wars. It's fun. You don't get a lot of it. You only live once. Anyway,
you don't get a lot of it.
Peace out.
You don't get a lot of it. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy, please do remember to like, comment, subscribe. The Patreon's in the description as ever, etc. Goodbye.